Hello everybody, this is Casey Pyne from Crypto Talk Australia. I am really looking forward to today's podcast because it's quite a change of pace from last week. I'm really excited about it. The good thing about being Crypto Talk is that we get to talk about all things crypto, whether it's specific coins or projects surrounding it. And this morning, I was actually just laying in bed. It's a bleak morning on the Gold Coast, and I was really procrastinating. And I just happened to be flicking through Facebook and found on a cryptocurrency group this link to a little web series trailer. And I watched it, and I laughed so hard. And I sent it to my mom, and she laughed as well and found it hilarious. And I thought that maybe on the off chance, I could just message someone to do with the series and maybe I could get them on the podcast. Lo and behold, 2 hours later, I am about to interview one of the main actors and producers from the web series. His name is Adam Goldhammer, and I'm so excited to interview him. Adam is an award-winning filmmaker and actor based out of Toronto, Canada. His short film Imposter premiered at the New York Film Festival in 2016, and Easy Girl premiered at Cannes in 2016 as well. He also starred in and directed the web series Little Cat Version of Me, which received rave reviews online and was a semi-finalist in the Los Angeles Next TV web series competition. He is currently producing, directing, and acting in On the Blockchain, a comedy tech web series about Katrina and Jonah Lipschitz as they attempt to reconcile their sibling differences to create a company that will change the world, or make a ton of money, depending on which person you ask. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks for having me, and happy that I'm constantly available for interviews across the world.
Yeah. So Adam is actually speaking to us today from Toronto. How's the weather there, Adam?
Well, it's winter here. I think my understanding is it's opposite season. So is it summer in Australia right now?
We've actually just turned into autumn. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's winter, but it's not too cold. Well, probably for your standards, it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
It's below zero.
It is. Yeah.
But which is warm for us. Close to zero, which is like a balmy temperature for us here in Canada.
Yeah, wow. So, Adam, what is the story behind On the Blockchain, and how did it come about?
Well, sort of came about a long way. I guess I can tell you about my introduction to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and then lead into sort of the idea for this show.
Yeah.
So essentially, I think it's 4 years ago, a friend of mine who's in the tech scene in New York was telling me about this thing, Bitcoin. And it was actually at my bachelor party. It was right before I was going to get married.
Wow.
And he was saying, like, this is something you should really invest in. He was explaining it to me. I had no idea what he was talking about some sort of mining and stuff like that. And, he told me this would be a really good investment. And we were joking around because I was going to get some money for my wedding from, family and friends who were coming. And I was deciding what to invest in, and probably something safe. But he was saying, you should really put this into Bitcoin. And we were joking about putting the whole thing into Bitcoin. And I actually tried to put $1,000 in at the time. Yeah. And it was not easy in Canada to buy Bitcoin then. But, I probably could have tried a bit harder. I don't think I tried very hard. And then, cut to 4 years later. And if I put in the $1,000, I would have, a lot more money at this point.
Yes.
I don't want to think about how much.
No.
And if I we were joking about putting even more money in, and that would have been crazier. But, you can't rewrite history. And hindsight is 20/20. So then recently, this is my friend Nikolai, and he has a startup in New York. He's done really well in that scene, and he's in the space of people starting different blockchain companies. And even last year, as the sort of crypto explosion of companies was happening and these companies were ICOing, he was seeing friends of his take their companies make, a ton of money off of their ICOs.
Yeah.
And that money would just grow dramatically, they would make 3 million in their currency. And then over the next year, it would turn into, hundreds of millions or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was at the time pitching me on you should really do a documentary on these people, as their lives change. It's crazy. And these people are changing so much. And, I'm not a documentary filmmaker though. So it sounded interesting, but it wasn't really up my alley. And then what happened was I went to a cottage. Well, this will sound really Canadian, but it was actually in America. I went to a maple farm, a place where they get maple syrup. And that was in upstate New York. And a lot of people from all over came, from New York, from Philadelphia, from Toronto, from Montreal. And there was about 30 people there. It's like an annual tradition that a bunch of friends of mine go to. And everywhere I turned, everybody was talking about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And generally the conversation was, let me try and explain to you people explaining to other people what cryptocurrency was the constant conversation that was happening the entire weekend.
Yeah.
And, essentially I used to be an actor. I took a bunch of time off of acting to start writing and directing. And then recently I really had a feeling like I wanted to act again. It was a part of me that I wanted to explore. So I was trying to think of a web series, because I did a web series at the very beginning of my career, and was now thinking, well, what if I did one again with all the skill set that I've learned as a producer and director? And so then I had this idea while I was there. At the time, the idea was just what if it was a web series about people who invested in Bitcoin and just got super wealthy off of it? What would their lives be like? But then that was the idea. And then the idea evolved as I started to flesh it out more and bring on writers and start working on it, to what you described, which is essentially a show about two siblings. One of them, which is my character, and this person wants to make a lot of money off of a company, and then the other person is really has studied blockchain theoretically, and she's taking her PhD and writing a thesis on it, and believes in its revolutionary potential. But they're both kind of two sides of the same coin, pun intended, where one of them, he has really good social skills, can sell your own water back to you, is just a tremendous salesman, but doesn't know anything about technology. And she has tremendous social anxiety, doesn't really know anything about business, but knows the code, can write, can understand everything theoretically. Yeah. And so we set it in 2014 before this big explosion, and we're going to follow their journey as they may or may not, make a lot of money and change the world with their technology.
Yeah, that's amazing. I laughed so hard. The dynamic between the siblings. Yeah, it was it was really funny. So you're hoping to, what's the next step from here? So you've got the trailer out.
Yeah, so we made a teaser for it, which essentially in Canada there's this kind of a web series competition, but it's more of a grant. It's called the Independent Production Fund, and every year they give out large sums of money to create web series. Mm-hmm. And there's several stages to the application. And the first stage was what we're in now. You create a teaser for your web series, a proof of concept, and then they choose about 30 of them, and there's lots that apply, hundreds. They choose 30 of them to make it to the next round, where you kind of fill out more of the application, write a pilot episode and all this stuff. So we're currently in the first round. And one of the, there's several factors that they judge the participants and who makes it to the next round, including quality of the web series. But one big one is on how many hits you can generate on your teaser to show that, you will have an audience for it. Okay. So right now I'm in the process of trying to generate as much traffic to our teaser as possible. Yeah. And you can actually find that on our website, which is ontheblockchain.show. And there you can watch the teaser. And if you like it, please share it and try and get as many different computers to link to it as possible. You can watch it on all your devices, and it'll give us great numbers. Yeah. And so that's where we're at right now, and hoping to turn that teaser into a full web series. And then honestly, the eventual goal is to take that web series and turn it into a full television show.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Well, I think it's a fantastic concept, and there's just so many little hubs out there of people that just love cryptocurrency. I feel like once you get your foot in the door, you've got the bug. So, and
yeah,
like you
totally.
said, it's not that
I joined
easy.
like every Facebook group possible to post it on, which is also a strange experience because like I don't know, and it's good fodder for the show.
Oh, exactly.
But like there's so much scammy stuff out there. Like I joined these groups and like people are adding me on Facebook and messaging me and asking me if I want free Bitcoin, and all I have to do is give them my social insurance number, and it's that easy. And all they need is my bank account, and right away I will immediately be making so much money off of Bitcoin. I got your message as well, and I just assumed like, okay, here's another person who's trying to steal money from me, and then it turned out that no. I mean, I don't know, unless this podcast isn't real at all, and somehow this is going to end with you asking me for my bank account information.
Exactly. If you want this to go live, I'm going to need your bank account information.
Yeah, that's where I figured, but, hopefully not.
Well, there's just, there's such a comical side to Bitcoin as well, like, because you've got, like, the tech industry, and there's a lot of young people in the kind of subculture of cryptocurrency, and they're just constantly sharing memes, and I feel like there's just so much like people like to laugh, and especially through the with the dip over Christmas that we had, it's just in my little group, the Crypto Talk Australia, just constantly sharing memes, trying to just laugh and just trying to get through this bear market. And I think that your little series will definitely help us in downturns
for sure.
as well.
I mean, Reddit is like an amazing place, and like the people who have a sense of humor about the craze that's going on, I think will really appreciate our show. And like I think that's definitely the tone that we will be going for with this, which is like kind of laughing at it, but also it is about people really trying their hardest to try and make a company. But I think the comedy really comes from the fact that so many people are just have no idea what it is, but want to make money off of it.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who, really are smart and believe in this technology and think that it can be, revolutionary, which I do believe it can from the research and everything that I've read about it and talking to my friends who are in this world. Yeah. So like the intersection of those two types of people is just funny in itself,
It's perfect. And even if you, don't manage to get the series funded through the competition. What's that called again?
It's called the Independent Production Fund.
Independent Production Fund. Well, you could probably start your own ICO and get.
Yeah, we were talking about potentially doing that, and like we had a couple ideas, and we still may. Which is like one thing was somehow attaching a coin to the series. And either making the coin partial ownership in the show in a sort of open source way, although I wouldn't want to give away creative control, so we'd have to figure out that. But it could be sort of if we sell the show, if we make it into like a Netflix series or something like that, like the coin gets redistributed out to everyone. Yeah. Or maybe the coin is what allows you to watch the show and you buy it now and then, that price could go up later. But, having some sort of coin attached, or just doing like a crowdfunding campaign, which in fact we will. For now, what we're just doing is putting a wallet on the website on the blockchain.show. Yeah. And if people are so inclined and so generous, they can put money into that wallet, and that would allow us to make the show. Yeah.
That's a fantastic idea. I mean, what better place to have a wallet on your website than a cryptocurrency miniseries?
Exactly. But can you imagine if we were raising money in this way, and like the fluctuation, if we kept it in our coin, like the fluctuation would be insane. And like one day we would be eating like caviar and lobster on set. Next day we would be firing people because we wouldn't be able to afford to have everybody on set. We wouldn't have a hair person, or like maybe we'd like lose sound for one day because the coin would just drop so dramatically. But I think that story is funny in itself. And we were also thinking, if we do go that route, to maybe do a behind the scenes of, that aspect of trying to raise money through crypto for the show and trying to pay for the show in crypto would be quite funny, I think.
Exactly. And it would just be such a I mean, you're just opening up a whole new part of what blockchain can do for people. Just,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Do you actually believe yourself that blockchain is quite revolutionary?
From what I've read and everything that and like talking to my friend about it, I think that, and this is a man that I trust,
Yeah.
and he like is telling me that, this is, and people are saying this is the same as, the invention of the internet.
Yeah.
But he sees it as a lot scarier than that, due to the anonymity of it.
Yeah.
And, it has the potential to be good and also has the potential to be kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah.
And I haven't wrapped my head fully around, what the implications are. I understand it on a very superficial level. I understand, like, to me, you read a bunch of things that have clicked for me, like the idea of owning your own identity on the internet seems like that could have huge implications.
Yeah.
And in the show, sort of the technology that we want our the character, Katrina, who will be the sort of the tech person,
Mm-hmm.
what we want her to be building is a new way of open sourced of groups or organizations.
Yeah.
So that could mean, anything from a company, or it could mean a small group of people, but there's no one central person that owns it. Everybody has a share, and the technology allows that to occur. And that could even mean a government eventually.
Yeah.
And the idea of having an online government that's run through the blockchain would be, pretty revolutionary, and people would have to take it pretty seriously. And that's sort of where we want to go with the show, in terms of the technology that she's developing.
Yeah. And it's your show making it like a fantastic comedy that it looks just really clever and well done, and it will just help educate people, I guess, a bit about blockchain technology, because, as you said, like, people struggle to explain what it is. And
I think that's sort of like an ongoing joke, like in the actual teaser itself, like it's pretty much the whole thing is them trying to explain it to somebody who doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be a running joke in the show, that they're constantly trying to explain it to each other, to themselves.
Yeah.
Like what this thing is. Because, on a superficial level, it's easy to understand, but then as you get deeper into it and what it means, I think that even experts are still not sure, like, what that is.
Oh, exactly.
But then, and the show works to, you're right, to bring in a broader audience beyond the crypto community, because on one level, it's about, two entrepreneurs trying to make this company. And then on another level, they're siblings, they're working through their own family relationship. It'll be about them and their family. The tagline that we have for the show is family is like blockchain technology, hard to predict and impossible to explain. And so we will be taking the ideas of the difficulty with blockchain, creating a company, explaining what it is, all those things, and sort of looking at that and how does that relate to family members dealing with your familial relations and stuff like that. And I think people will be able to relate to that on a different level. Like, you won't have to love blockchain, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, or even know what it is to be invested in the show.
Yeah.
But if you do, you'll know all the inside jokes within it. So that would give you a deeper understanding.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because when my mum was watching it, she was just laughing so hard, and she's like, she was agreeing with it, and she could see herself in the, no, I don't understand. And my mum even has invested in Bitcoin, but she still just doesn't understand it, and she really related to the trailer, which I think is what made it so funny for her.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's also what's so funny about everything, is like people are making obscene amounts of money and they don't know what it is they're making money on, but they're still throwing money into it anyway because it works, and then it crashes, and then that's, pretty bad.
Yeah.
But we'll have different, we'll have an episode. So part of the first season will be about them, trying to generate money for their company, and this is before kind of any big ICO, so they haven't really thought of the idea to attach a coin to their technology yet. That's sort of like, it's a bit pre that.
Yeah.
And the technology that they're making isn't a currency. And so one of the episodes, which is something that is true, and people have told stories about this, and I find it really funny, is my character, Jonah, realizes that, you know, many years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, or couldn't be 10, but, you know, right when Bitcoin came out, he bought a bunch of Bitcoin in order to buy drugs on Silk Road.
Yeah.
And bought it, but there must have been a bunch left over, and realizes with that change, he could be like a millionaire.
Yeah.
And so the episode is them trying to, because it's on the ledger, it should be there somewhere, right? You can't lose Bitcoin. So them working through it, trying to figure it all out. And in the end of that episode, I'll give you a spoiler, but turns out he spent all the money on drugs. So there's no change.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But there's stories about that, right? There are people who have gotten super rich, and they're just were buying drugs in 2009. Like that's like these people who were buying drugs had foresight by accident. That's exactly funny. It. So I think there's a lot of room for comedy in it.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because there was a interview in Australia with a girl who bought drugs off Silk Road with Bitcoin because she was so depressed she wanted to commit suicide. And I think she changed her mind, and she was still really depressed though. And she looked at her leftover Bitcoin, I think she said about 8 months later or something, and she's like, wow, that's worth a lot of money now. And so she started buying and selling Bitcoin online, and now she is worth millions and she's not depressed anymore. It's literally
but they always say money doesn't buy happiness, but I guess that's an anecdotal case that in fact it does.
Yes. It sure helps, I think. So so just to hear those stories.
Well, maybe she found purpose in, you know, the buying and selling of Bitcoin, and that helped her rather than the money. Who's to say? We don't know.
Oh, exactly. I think she really enjoys, I think her name is Crypto Chick or something. She tried to brand herself because it was mainly men buying Bitcoin. So she tried to brand it so she could sell herself in that way. And she's done really well for herself, and she bought a house in Sydney with Bitcoin. So there's just
sounds like she'd be a good guest for your show, probably better than myself.
Oh no, this has been heaps of fun. But there's so many stories like that coming out, and there's just so much fodder. Like all you have to do is throw up a comment in a group and say, what's the funniest Bitcoin story in here? And I think it'd be a golden one. So,
yeah, I know. There's so many free stories for our show. It's like there's too much. And that's, you know, we were trying to get to market quickly because, you know, I think that there will be other ideas for stories in this space. And there's room for more than one. But that was another reason that we decided to do it as a web series, because we wanted to get it online as quickly as possible. And then also, you know, I feel like online culture, having it as a web series is fitting for the topic and the subject matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Adam, congratulations. And I think that, as I've said 1,000 times, that I found it hilarious, and I really hope that you get your series made.
Yes, me too. We will. I'm pretty confident in it, and as long as everybody keeps watching it and sharing it. So if you like it, please send it to everybody.
Yeah.
So we can get the show made.
And what was your website again?
That was ontheblockchain.show.
Okay, I'll make sure that I link to it in the show notes, and make sure everyone you go across, and I'll put a link to their Facebook in the show notes as well, and we'll give Adam some support if you find it funny, well, as funny as I did. And yeah, we'll hopefully get this series made with all these watchers.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Adam, and hopefully we will talk to you again when the series is made.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Thanks for your time, Adam.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.